I didn't give her money. I gave her my only pair of hiking boots and stayed home. 12 years later, she found a spring under the mountain and our valley stopped thirsting. Listen, because sometimes a single brass eyelet holds more water than a dam. My name is Jonah Reed. I am good at keeping things. Bolts in jars, promises in my mouth, fears in my ribs. My flaw? I hoard plans like they'll evaporate. I don't trust luck. I don't trust myself to deserve it. Our town, Larkspur Valley, was a bowl turned upside down for 9 summers. The river became a ribbon. The ribbon became a rumor. Wells coughed up mud. On a Saturday before the drought learned our names by heart, I was packing for the Ridge of Glass. A long hike, a meteor shower, a test for the park service I'd saved for. I owned one good pair of boots. Brown leather, left boot missing a brass eyelet I'd replaced with a loop of blue thread. That eyelet shone like a tiny sun whenever I knelt to lace. She walked into my hardware store with dust on her eyelashes and a map under her arm. Aria Sol, 22. A scholarship kid back from the city with a hunger for rocks and rain. Her boots had split at the seam, tongues splayed like tired dogs. She held them the way you hold a memory that let you down. "Mr. Reed," she said, too formal for a place where we trade stories for screws. "I got invited on a ridge survey. We leave at dawn. If I don't go, I lose the lab spot." She didn't ask for money. She asked for time in the shape of gear. I looked at my pack, at the calendar where I'd circled ranger exam, at the boots that had learned my feet like a song. "Take mine," I heard my voice say. "You'll miss your test," she said. "Somebody's got to stay and mind the store," I lied. I didn't just hand her leather. I handed her knowledge I'd hoarded since my father taught me how to listen to land. On a grocery receipt, I drew a ridge profile and a V-shaped contour for gullies. Where you see cottonwoods in a straight line, there's water under the floor. Where ants carry pale grains uphill at dusk, they're dodging damp. If your tongue tastes salt on a dry rock, there's seep behind it. Lace your heels with a lock knot so you don't blister on side hill. She cradled the boots like they might run away. "If they fit, they're yours," I said. "Bring them back full of stories." I stayed home. They went up into bright morning. At noon, a photo arrived on my phone. Aria's feet in my boots next to lichen like tiny maps. She had written, "Your blue thread saw a cloud drink." The next day, I failed the ranger test I didn't take. The email said no show. I told myself I'd try again. I never did. That week, I felt a ghost ache where the brass eyelet should have tugged my laces. I felt pride and emptiness trading hands. The drought set in. The river forgot our last names. The only green left was the blue thread in my memory. Years turned like screws. Aria didn't leave. She studied here, under budget skies and behind chain-link fences. She failed often and loudly, then failed smaller and smarter. She built a team with hands like tools. Mateo Crow, a ditch digger who could read soil by smell. Dr. Keisha Lamb, a hydrologist who believed in listening wells. Short, shallow test holes that ask the ground questions. Naira Bloom, a schoolteacher who kept the kids mapping puddles like they were galaxies. They walked the valley at dawn, following willow shadows and dragonflies that refused to leave. They logged dry wells and false springs, places old-timers swore by and the earth now denied. They learned how caliche, that stubborn white crust, locks water like a lid. Aria wore my boots until the soles grew thin as prayer. She returned them wrapped in canvas with a note and a single brass eyelet she'd found along the trail. "I think this belongs to your left boot," she wrote. "When I'm tired, I rub it like a coin. It makes my steps honest." I kept the eyelet on the nail by the register. It caught the morning like a kept promise. On bad weeks, when the town fought over garden hoses and the water board meetings turned mean, I'd touch the brass and remember the receipt map, the lock knot, the ants at dusk. But the drought ate patience. Cattle auctions turned into farewells. People left with their houseplants buckled in seatbelts. An out-of-town company arrived with chrome brochures and a price tag shaped like a threat. "Ship water in," they said, "or move." The county offered a study with a deadline shaped like never. Aria refused the easy noise. She started what she called the listening ledger, a hand-bound book left at the market and the clinic. "Right where the earth still sweats," the cover said. Old men drew X's under basalt shelves. Children traced damp fingerprints where the shade held. A woman wrote about a rock that smelled like petrichor even at noon. They tested 27 spots. 22 were lies the valley told itself to stay brave. 5 whispered, maybe. They tried blowing air into fractures and listening for stone to sing. They packed bentonite around PVC to measure rise after midnight. They built a sand dam that failed in a single sulking hour and learned failure as a teacher with calloused hands. Aria's voice notes kept me company when the store was empty. I can't hear water, Jonah, only its grammar. Today I found sedge growing where it shouldn't. I wanted to cry. I didn't. I wrote it down. I still rub the eyelet. Then came year 12, a summer that cracked paint from porches. The reservoir's bathtub ring grew teeth. The waterboard placed fines like bandages that didn't reach the wound. Aria brought me a tin compass she'd found in the school lost and found. Point me where the rocks keep secrets, she said, half joke, all need. We drove to the Black Fig Ledge, a place my father had said was tired of rain but not of being asked. On the walk, Aria stumbled, the left boot biting her ankle even in memory. She laughed at herself, breath white in heat. We found a seep line, a dark ribbon no wider than a shoelace. Ants were carrying pale grains uphill, just like I'd drawn on that receipt. Aria knelt, pressed her ear to stone, and went still. The ground is cooler here, she whispered. Cooler means moving. They sank a listening well, 1 arm deep, then 2. Lined it with perforated pipe, covered it with mesh, placed a tin cup on the rim at night. At dawn, the cup sweated. Not much, just enough to wet the lip. Not a miracle, Aria said, a hint. They followed the hint uphill to a rhyolite shelf sealed with caliche like a scab. Water wants out, Keisha said. It's trapped. They filed permits to drill a release bore the size of a finger. The county stamped pending and went to lunch. That night a brush fire leaped a road 2 valleys over. Air turned to jar-lid heat. Our volunteer guys dragged hose like regret. I watched Aria at the ledge with a spray bottle and a steel rod, tapping, listening. Like tuning a guitar, she said. Only the song is wet. Then the knot. The day the county finally called, I ran to the ledge with the approval. Aria stared at the paper, then at me, and didn't recognize my face. Beard now, ash smudged, name badge burned. For a breath that felt like a mile, we were almost strangers in the place that raised us. I reached for the nail by reflex and felt the brass eyelet in my pocket. I pressed it into her palm. She closed her fingers and found me. Let's make a door, she said, voice low. They drilled slow. A hole thin as a pencil at the edge of the rhyolite lid. No blasting, no rush. The valley held its breath like a child waiting for news. Nothing. Then a cool exhale from stone, like the mountain had been thinking and finally chose to speak. Water did not gush, it gathered. A bead grew to a drip. The drip learned a rhythm. They widened the path with a hand auger, coaxing the caliche free a grain at a time. The drip became a thread. The thread found a bowl we'd shaped with our palms. We built a spring box, laid gravel, set a filter screen, led a gravity line down to a cistern the kids painted with blue threads like the one in my old boot. We set up rotation days with chalk on the church door. We wrote a water charter in words everyone could read. First, clinic, then school, then everyone's kettles. No hoses at noon, songs welcome at dusk. The company with the chrome brochures stopped returning calls. The county claimed the map. Fine, take the map. We'll keep the knowing. Weeks later, the spring's pulse was steady enough to be counted like a heartbeat. Not magic. Maintenance. We pulled silt each Friday. We brushed the screen. We taught the kids to cup water with 2 hands like they were holding a bird. Aria started a field class, girls with boots. Not about paths up mountains, but about paths inside stone. She brought my old left boot, sole soft, eyelet restored, placed it on the table beside a tin compass and a grocery receipt I'd saved too long. Graduation day, she put the boot in my arms. Keep it, she said. It knows the way home. That evening, the whole valley stood at the cistern as the pipe hummed a small, certain song. No speeches, no banner, just water, clear as an unkept secret, dropping into a dented basin with a sound like new sleep. The brass eyelet on my keyring caught the last light. The spring breathed. The children counted, 1, 2, 3, as if numbers could bless it. We didn't say a lesson. We just listened to the soft percussion of enough.